UFC 317 is going to be occurring at International Fight Week, and we still do not have a headliner. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is going to be the headliner of this card, presumably. Now, there has been a bunch of rumors coming out for someone like Jon Jones to take this fight with Aspinall and all these different stipulations, and we are going to break down all those kind of in this video. But he says he needs 6 months for a training camp. He says he wants $50 million and all this other BS. Tom Aspinall, on the other hand, is just saying that he does not want to fight anyone else other than Jon Jones, or rather fight anyone else for anything less than the undisputed UFC heavyweight title. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is probably the biggest fight in UFC history in recent memory. You got the likes of Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor, the likes of Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier, some of these other massive fights on this card. And Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is a fight that every single person inside the UFC wants to see, and all the fandom outside the UFC wants to see as well. And I do think that these things that Jon Jones is seeing in Aspinall are driving these stipulations up. So breaking down the stipulations, first, Jon Jones wants upwards of $30 to $50 million to fight Mr. Aspinall, which is an absolute outrageous amount of money. Now, Tom Aspinall did come out and said, yes, Jon Jones should be asking for this type of money, considering that he knows his worth, what he's been doing for the sport and whatnot. But genuinely, this is an absolute outrageous amount of money to be asking Dana White for. And furthermore, he says he wants 6 months to train for this fight. Usually a fight camp is like 3 to 4 months, not 6. And a 6 month training camp for a fight isn't honestly a good thing, because you look at all these fighters, every single time a fighter goes into the UFC octagon, 9 times out of 10, or probably more likely 99 times out of 100, they are dealing with some small nagging injuries. Namely, the most recent one that we found out, Sean O'Malley tore his hip, his labrum in his hip 10 weeks out for the fight with Merab. Sean Strickland had staph infection when he went and fought Dricus du Plessis. There's all these different fights that have been going on. Merab Davishvili, when he fought Umar Nurmagomedov, had a massive cut on his leg. All these different guys are fighting with injuries going into the specific fight. But genuinely, only elongating your training period is going to lead to more injury risks, more different things going on, and genuinely is going to hurt Jon Jones in the long term, in my opinion. Now, Tom Aspinall kind of had the greatest mindset going into this. He understands the challenge ahead of him. He understands also that Jon Jones is a little bit older and that he's more athletic, he is faster, but still has to deal with the skills and different kind of nuances of Mr. Jon Bones Jones. And this is kind of why this fight is so very interesting. You talk to the average MMA fan, and genuinely, it is super divided on whether these two are going to win or not. We have some people picking the new age of fighter in Tom Aspinall just because they want to see the old age die, or also they're just picking the old age Jon Jones because they have seen him win time and time again. But when you further break down this fight, it is so much harder to predict a winner than just say something like that. Tom Aspinall, like I said, is faster, more athletic, has a background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is something not really that many people know. Jon Jones, on the other hand, as we all know, has had wars with Alexander Gustafsson, DC, Shogun Rua, all these different guys in his UFC career, and has come out on top every single time. His only loss is to Matt Hamill, which it was an illegal 12-6 elbow, which that rule is now revoked right now, so that possibly might get overturned in the very near future. But really, when I look at this fight, why do I see this fight not happening currently? There's one man holding this up, and it is Jon Jones. And I don't know if it's because he's scared. I don't know if it's because he just doesn't want to fight. I don't know if he's trying to price himself out of the market to get that much more money, because I genuinely think he's doing this because he understands how dangerous Tom Aspinall is inside the octagon. Tom Aspinall is unlike someone Jon Jones has ever fought before. Tom Aspinall is bigger than Jones, he's faster than Jones, more athletic, which is something that Jones usually has the advantage of. Jon Jones, especially at the UFC light heavyweight division, had such an unreal body type that no one was able to match. Him standing at about 6'4", 6'5", super skinny legs, very long arms, very fast and mobile. Not anyone could keep up with Jones, and that was what gave him such a big advantage inside the UFC light heavyweight division. Now moving up to heavyweight, Stipe was kind of that same height, Cyril Gane was kind of that same fight, but Jones was still faster, and that was really what gave him the edge in beating any single person inside the heavyweight division that he's beat. Now, looking at Aspinall, Aspinall's faster. He's also bigger. So this is going to be a very, very interesting fight. But really, do I think this fight is going to happen at UFC 317 or at all? And I do think it's going to happen at UFC 317. I am confident in Dana White. I'm confident in Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall to put this fight on the biggest stage the UFC has at International Fight Week in Las Vegas, Nevada, a time that every single person, no matter if you're a UFC fan, non-UFC fan, you watch that card. Last year was Alex Pereira and Yuri Prochazka, but was supposed to be Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. You put the biggest names on that card to draw the absolute biggest pay-per-views of all time. And I look and I see Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall as one of the biggest fights of all time. And you can only writingly put it on one of the biggest cards of all time. I just think that these two individuals will go in there and unify the heavyweight title, getting an absolute barn burner. But genuinely, the question that I have for you guys to just think about is Jon Jones scared? I just don't know why he would be, considering his resume, unless he truly sees Tom Aspinall as a different breed of fighter than he has ever fought before. Inside the UFC, there are so many different fighters who have different archetypes and whatnot, and Tom Aspinall is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the organization right now. He is probably top 8, top 7, in my opinion, which is something absolutely crazy to see. Tom Aspinall has, the lifeblood of himself in that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game with his family. He's been training since he was incredibly young. He's got a great team behind him with his father and everyone training, I believe, in Manchester, England. Tom Aspinall is one of the best fighters in the UFC right now, and Jon Jones is on the decline. Now, he is still one of the best fighters in the organization right now, but he is on the decline. Seeing Tom Aspinall going in there in his last 3 fights, which was in 2023 of July, 2023 of November, and 2024 of July, seeing that he's only spent 3 minutes and 20 seconds total against 3 different opponents in the octagon is definitely daunting to go see. But if anyone can beat Tom Aspinall, it is Jon Jones. If anyone can beat Jon Jones, it is Tom Aspinall. This is way different than the Ciryl Gane fight. A lot of people thought he would beat Gane. Gane would beat Jones, including me, because Gane had that striking prowess, and he would be more than athletic enough to get up from the bottom. Well, Ciryl Gane was an absolute fish out of water when Jon Jones got on top of him. But I do think Tom Aspinall has the jiu-jitsu and wrestling ability. Maybe not as good as Jon Jones, but to be able to hold his own on there if it ever gets to the ground. I think that's the biggest question, because I think Tom Aspinall hits so hard, so elusive, so powerful that genuinely I think he can go out there and knock Jon Jones out. Main event prediction for UFC 317 is going to be Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall to unify the UFC heavyweight title. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I know I've been making videos about this for a very long time, but genuinely, it is still baffling to me that this fight hasn't even been made. All the rumors coming out that Jon Jones is asking for $30 to $50 million to take this fight. He's asking for a 6-month training camp, which definitely isn't beneficial to him, and already should be studying tape on Aspinall. I don't think you need that long of a camp to get ready for him when you know that that's going to be your next opponent. I genuinely hope the UFC handcuffs Jones and says, if you want to retire, that's more than okay. But if you want to keep fighting, Tom Aspinall is here. Tom is the next contender. He was one of the only champions to defend the interim title, which he did against Curtis Blaydes at UFC 304 and knocked him out in a minute flat. I just think that this fight is too big not to make, and considering how good Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall both are, this would be one of the biggest fights in UFC history, one of the most interesting fights in UFC history, and a fight that would absolutely have every single MMA fan around the world salivating over. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe while you're down there. And please, please, please turn on the post notifications, just so you guys are always updated with UFC content releasing every day. Back to uploading, not as much as what I used to, but genuinely want to push out MMA content for you guys, just to get your guys' opinion and keep you guys updated with the latest news. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.